My parents speak Indian, and I did too for the majority of my life until I was around 7, because that's when I came to the UK and went to an English speaking school. The thing is, at the time, I didn't know how to speak a single word of English. I had to learn English by watching programs like CBBC's on TV. So it did take me a while to grasp the understanding of English. And then for the next 10 years, that's what I've been speaking. Just purely English. My friends speak English, I speak English, and my parents occasionally spoke English to me. And I didn't speak a lot of Indian because there wasn't the need to. So over time, I just kept not speaking Indian, and I got to a point where I could no longer get the words that I wanted to say in my head, so I just couldn't say them. I could still understand Indian. That's perfectly fine, because whenever my dad talks to me, he only speaks in Indian, so I'm able to understand him. But unfortunately, my mum speaks to me in English, which does suck because I mostly speak to my mum. So I just don't get to hear the language as often as I would like to, and not being able to speak it does suck because it means I can't speak to my family members and my grandparents, which is probably the worst feeling ever, because I can understand everything that they're saying. I just can't tell them anything back because I just don't know what the words are. If you told me the sentence, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. I know what that means. But I probably wouldn't be able to say the same thing back, either because I just can't pronounce those words. Usually that's not an issue, but I would just immediately forget. It's just not in my head. There used to be a time when English and Indian were just embedded in my brain. I remember this one time, I can't remember how old I was, but I went from speaking fluent English, and then we went on holiday to India, and I had forgotten all of the English and started speaking only in Indian. It's like I code switched, and then as soon as I went back to the UK, I was totally fine speaking fluent English. And I wish I had that sense, but I just can't find the words that I want to say in Indian. And when I watch Indian movies, which is a very rare occasion because I find them so unbelievably cringe or boring, but there was this one time where I went to go watch an Indian film and I barely understood any of it. Either they were speaking some advanced levels of Indian that I don't understand because my parents and my other family members speak in a simple, more slang-like vocabulary, but maybe I just don't know those words. I wish I did. I wish I was able to speak my native tongue, because not being able to speak the language of where you're from just strips away the identity of who you are. Like, what do you mean I was able to fluently speak a language, and after a couple years of speaking to people in English, I just have lost that sense? And I can't even watch Indian movies to gain back that sense, because understanding is one thing, but speaking is a completely different thing. A lot of practice would definitely help, like speaking to my friends in Indian and throwing in a few words that are Indian, or mixing English with Indian, which is what my mum does most of the time. I think things like that would help. And there's no way in hell I'm gonna hire a tutor to teach me a language that I should already know. That's pretty demeaning. Or it's an ego thing. Can I really call myself Indian if I can't speak the language? Because at that point, I might as well just say that I'm British, which I don't really like, because yes, I'm British and I have a British accent and everything. I learned Indian from growing up as a kid. When I was really young, probably 4 or 5, I lived in India for a year and I went to school there. So I was able to pick up the language. I think earlier in the video I said that I've always spoken Indian, which I realize now isn't true. I was born in India, and then my family moved to North Wales, where I lived in North Wales for a few years. So I picked up English and a bit of Welsh. And then I moved to India, where I didn't know any of the dialect, and I had to learn by listening to people. I didn't even have a real tutor or anything. I just picked up the language. How the hell do you pick up a language and just understand it and have it in your brain? This is what I don't understand about kids. Kids can learn things way better than adults because their brains are just more malleable or something. I think there was this video from SmartEverDay where he was riding a bike, but whenever he turned it left, it would go right, and when you turn it right, it would go left. And he basically had to relearn how to ride a bike, which took Destin a lot of time, but it took his son not even that long because his brain is just more malleable. It's easier for him to learn things, which is why it's easier for kids to learn languages and pick them up, rather than me, right about now, a 17-year-old, trying to learn a language basically from start.
In 2 weeks, he did something that took me 8 months to do, which demonstrates that a child has more neuroplasticity, am I even saying that right, than an adult. It's clear from this experiment that children have a much more plastic brain than adults. That's why the best time to learn a language is when you're a young child.
If I were to try and learn Indian all over again, I think I would start from scratch, the full basics, because I only know the basics. Whenever my parents talk about the days of the week or a time, I have no idea what they're referring to, because as a kid, I never learnt those things. So now, as a teenager, I still have no idea what they mean. Now that I think about it, it's probably a good idea to go on YouTube and just watch a few videos on people teaching the days of the week and time, because I think that would be pretty beneficial towards me. I don't like throwing in a few Indian phrases because my parents don't expect it from me, and I just feel like if I start saying a bunch of Indian phrases, they'll be like, what are you trying to do? Or I'm even worried, like, what if they can't understand the phrase or word that I'm trying to say and they act confused? Doesn't matter, they're my parents, they'll love me no matter what. If I mispronounce a word, who the hell cares? This isn't much of a wake-up call because I've known for a long time that I have no idea how to speak my native tongue. It does suck because a few of my Indian friends can speak to their parents in Indian or speak to their uncles and aunties in Indian, and I just wish, man, I wish I could do that. Just have a little chit-chat in Indian. I think I'll have to give my parents a heads up if I do try and throw in a few Indian phrases, just so they're not confused on why I suddenly start speaking a little bit of Indian. If you can't speak your native tongue, as in if you've known how to speak and understand your native tongue, but you've lost the ability to, maybe try and put in just a little bit of effort, like watching one movie in your native language a week, just once a week. But if you have no idea how to speak your native language because you were never taught it as a kid, then I haven't got much advice for you. I could say go ahead and learn the entire language, but learning some languages like Tagalog or Japanese, Chinese, specifically the Asian languages, that could be really tricky if you have never been taught how to speak that language as a kid. I've been trying to do some math homework while also doing this voiceover at the exact same time. Turns out I cannot multitask. I have been doing this voice recording for 20 minutes and I have written approximately 2 lines. I better stop now and lock in for this because I have a test tomorrow. So, bye.